Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, where I interview guests that will teach, motivate, and inspire you to stop at nothing to fulfill your dreams. I'm your host, Curveball, and today I am joined by author, entrepreneur, and executive film producer, Shari Moss. We're going to be talking about her books and a little bit about her life. At the age of 8, she was in a single motel unit with her 3 siblings, isolated from her peers, looking through the Sears catalog, trying to find the home that she desperately wanted. Her journey has taken her through hell and back, multiple cities, in 2 countries to find love and the home she so desperately wanted. Sounds like she's definitely not only got the home that she wanted, but she's joining us today even from her lake house. So she's got 2 homes. Shari, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for the invite. It's very good to be here.
Well, why don't you start off by giving everybody a little bit of background about yourself?
Well, I did spend the majority of the 80s and 90s fostering a great career that eventually led to wireless telecoms. So that's where my business chops came from. I spent many years developing a particular style of customer service and spent a lot of time learning a great deal about the product and buyers. It was really a man's product, a man's world, but it didn't stop me from doing the best I could and doing very well at it. And but then kids come along, and I took parenting very, very seriously. So, as you will find many reasons for that in the book. So I stayed home and developed other passions I wanted to do. Brought some local groups together of women, taught cooking in my home, and really spent the first few years of the kid's life enjoying a kid's life. Then it was time to write. And I finally decided to pursue a passion I had since high school. So I began to write, and through that began to help young people. And again, the shape that path took was very clear in the book on why that was very important to me to help young people, whether it be with the business books or philosophies, if you will, of finding their own path.
Well, why don't you take us through that journey that you started at 8 years old in a single motel unit and trying to find that love? Because sounds like you found that love and you've got your kids and everything. So take us through that journey.
Well, 4 siblings living in a very compact, small hotel unit. And really, we're talking about the desert. Houses were more than half a mile, a quarter mile apart. It was, the 60s and 70s in California. It was a bit tough then. Kids were not given the same respect, let's just say, that we can give them today. And so I went through a lot of judgment because we were very, very poor. And I felt like I didn't have people to really question and show caring for what my situation was. But I fought my way through that, knowing, what I felt inside was right and strove to continue to do well in school and be a good person. From there, moving back into Canada in high school, I ran into the same things there with, it was really about the teachers and the parents. I found them to be, again, as in the earlier years of school, very judgmental because of my background circumstances. And, when you're young, you don't have control over that. So, my desire to get to an age where I could have a semblance of control, I could work, I could earn some money. And, we had parents that really weren't there, just weren't around. So that's, what happened. I didn't get to go into post-secondary education. I tried going to university, but, when you don't have emotional or financial support, it's tough. So I thought, no, that's it. I was a young adult by then. It was time to get to work and look after myself and do what I really wanted to do, which was work hard and earn the things that I felt were very important to have. I think at that early age, it's still a bit of, I wanted to have a certain level of acceptance, and whether it was from myself or from others. So I did. I worked very, very hard and successfully. So I began to have the things that I felt at the time were very important, which was, nice home and nice family life and creating traditions and just fun stuff. I wasn't extravagant, but just really having fun. So that takes us right through to married and children and having a wonderful home life. We had a home and a cottage. We were boaters. We had a nice boat. We spent a lot of time in the Great Lakes. But then entered the next era of hardship in the form of alcoholism and drug addiction from my husband. So spent many, many years really trying to dig my heels in and save what we had both worked very hard for, that life. And so it doesn't end that well. Again, there's more of that in the book, but that was another challenging era for me, and where I came out of the end of it having to start again and, carry on with my life and understand what was important and how to keep being a good person. And I did. I built a nice life back up and started to realize, what I enjoyed the most, what I enjoyed doing the most was far more important than, that I thought the houses would be. Let's just put it that way. So where I am today is, again, coming past that and out the other side where I'm doing what I love and I'm having some very successful relationships. I've got a great relationship with my kids, and I'm doing work I love, and I think other things are opening up for me.
So you talk about how you wrote some books to help young people. Why did you choose to do that, and why is that your passion?
I always got along with, my kids' friends and our nieces, nephews, and I felt like I could really relate to them and really speak their language. And the more I talked about the things that I knew that, could offer, whether it was business-wise or relationship or just life in general, I found that it was easy for me to do that, and they loved the way I was doing it. And I thought, well, if I care so much about them, again, it's that caring for young people, giving them help where they need it the most, and allowing them to come to you when they do need help and being able to talk. I put my knowledge into the first book, and let's face it, every young person, every millennial wants to, be an entrepreneur and or millionaire, which to them is both. So I created what I knew best in a simple book for them that said, hey, it's super competitive out there. You need to have an edge, and I can probably help you. And I poured that into a book. The second one came because the editor of my first book was a young woman who we ended up with a great relationship. We decided to write about how the younger generation and older generation could help each other to succeed, because as we were. So we wrote a bit of a philosophy on helping young people find the help and support they need while they were deciding what they could and should be doing. It was fun. It was really, really fun. I just enjoyed the reaction I had. I loved that people found it so fun and helpful, not dry and boring. But this last book, it's my journey. It's the whole life story. And as hard as it was to write, it was something that really needed to be done. It's inspiring a lot of people to be able to, talk about the things they don't talk about and not feel shame or guilt or hide things, So and that's just launched. So I'm in the midst of really working with that.
So you also are an executive film producer. Tell us about the films that you have produced and what they're about.
Well, I'm currently involved with one that I think is very, very important. It's still in really early stages. It's a story of redemption. It's something that really should be told today. Again, it's kids disadvantaged that end up causing problems and pain for somebody else just because of their own pain, and what can happen when both of the two, recognize it, or what can happen when you get caught up in being with the wrong people and you're not using your, goodness or common sense. But that one's still out there. It needs a lot of work yet to be done. It's called Children of the Fire, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. But in the past, I did a very, very fun one, an independent film project. I kept a place in Austin, Texas for a while, and my friends there in the film industry. We did a great project. I mean, it was set in the 80s, and it was, the type of horror thing that we used to, watch in movies that back then. It was, college kids experiment gone wrong sort of thing. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Gave me a bit of an experience. I was looking forward to see what I wanted to do in that sort of field. So yeah, I'm working on another project that's bigger and better, and I'm enjoying it.
What do you think that helped you the most to get through the bad times to now get to the good times where you're at?
I'm going to say is always believing in what I had the power to do, if that makes sense. I knew from a very, very young age when I saw adults pretending to be good people, but in the way they talked, but exhibiting not so nice and not caring, in the way they acted. And I knew from a very early age that, what it meant to me, that just to be a good person, and it was okay to make mistakes. So I think what helped me through all the years and struggles, and I've only, touched the surface in a few things. There's quite a few things that really did happen over the decades, including, in-laws, challenges and things, again, about non-acceptance. I was in a man's workplace, so I was very, very, held back or put down, let's just say, by some of them because I was doing better than them. And that was the 80s, the 90s. It was still very much like that. But I think through it all, and what landed me where I am today, and as I said, I have a good life, I'm very happy, was that I always knew that, no, I can do the things I want to do. I can't be held back. I can't be put down. I know what I'm doing is right. I know I have a good heart and I'm a good person, and I just got to persevere. One foot in front of the other. Believe me, there were some wild days and stories and challenges you'll find in the book while I was married at the end. But you just got to keep doing it. You just have to know that, it's, what's right, and you don't have to do what's wrong.
You also like to travel. Tell us about a place that you've been to that you always wanted to go, and tell us about a place that you haven't been to yet that you want to go to.
Well, there was one opportunity I had to go into the mountains, the forest and the mountains, and sit with a family of gorillas in Rwanda. It was the most incredible experience I've ever been fortunate enough to do. I went. We were kept in small groups. I think there was about 6 or 8 of us, and we had guides. But we went up into the hills. And we were literally sitting amongst this family, and to watch the dynamics that were so clear. Which ones were teenagers acting like, showing off, which ones were babies hiding behind the moms, the leader of the pack watching everybody from up in his perch. But there was a moment when I was standing just over a bit of a hollow, and there was a female, a mother gorilla, and she had her 2 other kids, 2 little ones beside her. And she was laying there, and she reached out. We weren't allowed, of course, to engage with them and to touch them, or we were trained how to not make certain noises, etc. So very, very quietly, I stood where the hollow where she was laying in, and she very slowly reached her arm out and uncurled her fingers just to touch my boot, and looked me in the eye, and I had this incredible connection. I knew she was a mom, and as was I, and there was just something about it that we both needed to literally, look into each other's eyes. I would say that was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had. Really takes you down to base level, which is really what I've been saying, about inherently just being a good person. Where I would like to go, well, we always say things like, Tahiti or Bali or the South Pacific or the tropics. I don't know. Maybe even Greenland, Iceland. I understand it's kind of a really cool place, something cool to experience. Not sure, but that might be it.
Do you have any upcoming projects or anything that you're working on in the future that people would like to know about that you would mind talking about?
Yes. Part of the reason I wrote this, life journey, it's a memoir, but I prefer to call it a life journey. I've been working with someone on a movement or a project, if you will, called One Last Talk. And it just speaks to my heart so greatly, the work that is involved. I've been involved with it for a few years. And really it's about, asking people to share something about themselves in a very short time that would help somebody else, whether it's not feel alone or not feel guilty or what have you. And they're usually things that people don't know about them. And it's 15 minutes. And you do that, and there's such a healing that comes from, working it. I've worked with several people on this. There's such a healing that comes through them when they actually get to work on it, and then they speak it, and then, this weight and this release comes off of them. And it's so amazing to see. And so with a small group audience, and it's so amazing to see the audience just, take a deep breath and realize that, wow, that's brave. If that person has a lot of courage to be able to speak, I need to have, and they find courage to do it. And it grows from there. And pretty soon you have a group of, plenty of people who, are helping cure loneliness, because loneliness is, can lead to so many things, anxiety and eating disorders and, all kinds of mental health issues and sadness, depression. So this is what I'm going to be curating in a big way in the future. Once we get out of the stagnant, pause that we're all in at the moment, it's going to be a really, really exciting project, exciting, venture for me, working with other people and doing just that. That's where I am, in my life. I've settled. I have a fantastic, relationship with a great guy, and my kids are all young, they're young adults and they're on their way. So I get to do what I love. I'm going to keep writing. I don't think I'm done. I think there's another. Oh, I do have, by the way, I have a children's book that's on contract with Pegasus, in the UK, and I'm really excited about that coming out too. Again, it's the story of a young girl who doesn't quite know how to make friends. She moves so much, the anxiety, the challenges of that. So that's going to be exciting. Hopefully this year I'll see that in print. But other than that, yeah, I just want to continue to talk, it's all about communication and conversation. And I want to continue to foster that to help people.
Well, you definitely have a inspiring story, and I'm sure you're going to help a lot of people. Why don't you give us ways to connect with you? Give out your website where we can purchase your books, your social media links.
Yes, I'd be thrilled to invite anybody to come and you can have a look at my personal website. It is in the midst of updating, to actually start a book and see it through to publication within 1 year, because it was a year, to the week, is really, really something. It doesn't usually happen that fast. So I've spent a lot of time on that and where I want to take it. So I haven't had a chance to really update my website, but it is there. Through that, you can contact me. The site is ShariAnnMoss.com. If you know how to spell my name, then you know how to do ShariAnnMoss.com. You can find all the books on Amazon. I just approved the audio book for this last one, but it's there, Kindle and paperback and hardcover. Reviews are already going up. I'm getting messages literally almost daily, whether it's an email, a phone call, or a text from people that it's on Amazon globally. So worldwide, it doesn't matter where you are, you can pick it up. But they're really warming my heart, because they're telling me, how it made them feel, how they had to take 2 days before they could actually, they really wanted to think about how they wanted to say it, but it was very inspiring to them. And they were just very, very surprised that I could be very open and such, but it really inspired them. So Amazon, yes, there's other places, but might as well just connect right to Amazon. And I'm on LinkedIn, just at Shari Moss. So yeah, there's ways to find me.
Do you have any final thoughts before we close out for the audience? Any words of encouragement or anything like that?
Yeah, I work with young people. I a few years ago started designing workshops to bring. Well, I started with just young women, because I was helping them. We talked about adversities and challenges and things you come through, but really this is for anybody. I often told them when they were trying to figure out, what they wanted to do or what they should do, and I was giving them avenues to explore. You know what I said to them, and this goes for anybody in any way, and it's true too after this last book. Go and volunteer and do something where nobody else knows you're doing it, and you don't tell anybody or talk about it, unless, of course, I'm not saying don't ever say anything about it. I'm saying doing it for the sake of the act. And go and volunteer and help something somewhere. Everybody has things that they're passionate about. Find something where you can make a difference and hold it close to your heart. Because you know what? That's the thing that gets people to think outside of things that are holding them back, their challenges, their needs. Helping somebody else, there is nothing more that makes your heart just, feel so open and exploding with goodness. Start there. If you really want to, change something or look at something differently or get somewhere, you can find the strength in yourself by looking out there, and it might just help you put one foot in front of the other afterwards. I just think it's just something extra to think about. Everybody else has great things they say, with 5 steps to this and how easy it is, the 10 easy things, and you'll have this. And I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to spending time with yourself, and thinking about those things on your own. What inspires you and the good things you have in you. Everybody's got strength and resilience, and just find it. There are lots of ways to do it, but I find that volunteering or helping somebody in any capacity is a great way to find your own strength.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shari Moss. Be sure to pick up her books on Amazon. Visit her website at shariannmoss.com. Shari, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure, and I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, you were great. I sure appreciate it, and I'm sure my audience will as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.